Ever get that feeling like you're being watched? Or maybe buzzed about? Today, we're going deep, really deep, into something both creepy and fascinating. It's the SCP Foundation file on SCP-3646. And let me tell you, when even the Foundation, those masters of containing the uncontainable, have to pull out all the stops, well, you know it's bad.
It really does make you wonder what we're up against, doesn't it? And this isn't some giant monster or like a reality-bending artifact. We're talking about, well, mosquitoes.
Right. But not just any mosquitoes.
And not just any mosquitoes, no. That's where it gets really creepy.
So first things first, the file. It's full of these crazy containment procedures. It's got thousands of these things just like buzzing around in some specialized facility, being fed sugar water. It's like they're keeping the world's deadliest pets.
Well, the sugar water is actually key to containing SCP-3646. The thing is, it's not their bite that's the primary threat. It's what happens when they die.
Okay, hold on. This is where I got a little lost.
What?
They're dangerous. Dead.
Exactly. And the file, it doesn't explicitly say why, which just makes it even creepier. Okay?
Yeah.
But because of this bizarre characteristic, the Foundation has to neutralize them in the wild. And that means a global effort. Task forces, pheromone traps, even a specially engineered bioweapon.
A bioweapon. For mosquitoes? That feels, I don't know, a little extreme, doesn't it? I mean, I know regular mosquitoes are responsible for a ton of deaths through disease, but...
That's just it. These aren't your average backyard pests. The file describes SCP-3646 as, well, resembling a mosquito, sure, but it's disturbingly pale, almost white. And there's this detail, almost easy to miss, about a feathery appendage coming off its abdomen. The file doesn't say what it is or what it does, but it definitely adds to the unsettling image,
So they're basically albino mosquitoes from hell with a weird feather duster glued to their butts. That's reassuring. And did I mention they're immortal?
Not only are they biologically immortal, they also don't reproduce in any way we understand. Instead, new SCP-3646 instances, they appear on the bodies of their victims after death. Now, talk about a terrifying legacy. And that's where the file really takes a turn, because it includes these excerpts from an interview with one of the victims, this Mr. Anatol Ubandu, and reading his account, you almost feel like you're experiencing it alongside him, which is beyond unsettling.
I was just about to say, talk about getting under your skin. The file does not hold back on the details. At first, it's just this faint buzzing that Mr. Ubandu keeps hearing.
Yeah.
Like a mosquito is always right there, right on the edge of your hearing.
Classic auditory hallucination, at least in the beginning. But the thing is, with SCP-3646, these hallucinations, they don't go away. They just keep getting worse.
Way worse. I mean, imagine that feeling you get when you think a mosquito's about to bite you. That little prickle of anticipation and dread. The file says Mr. Ubandu described it as feeling like they were crawling all over him. Constantly.
And there's no escape, right? Because it's all in his head. At one point, he even starts trying to swat them away, keeping this meticulous count of how many he's killed. It's heartbreaking, honestly.
That's what gets me. You can really feel his desperation in the interview logs. He thinks he's fighting back, getting some control of the situation, but it's just this downward spiral.
Because the final stage of SCP-3646's effect, well, the file describes it as exsanguination. And let me tell you, that's not a word you want to see associated with something that's already terrifying you.
Yeah, I looked it up. Basically, you bleed out internally. But here's the thing that really got me.
Right.
There's no blood.
Right.
It's like it just vanishes.
That's the biggest mystery of all. The file doesn't even attempt to explain it. And then, to make matters worse, there's this chilling detail about Mr. Ubandu's final words. Right before he dies, he claims that he can see them.
And that they're screaming. I mean, what do you even do with that information? It's like something out of a fever dream.
The file doesn't offer any explanations. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Is it possible that SCP-3646 isn't just a biological threat, but something more?
So where do we even go from here? We've got these immortal phantom mosquitoes that drive you mad with like the sound of their buzzing, only to, well, drain you of all your blood. And then poof, they just reappear like some gruesome magic trick.
It's definitely one of the more unsettling entries, that's for sure, even for those of us, familiar with the Foundation's work. And I think that's what makes SCP-3646 so fascinating. It forces us to confront the unknown, really confront it on multiple levels.
Okay, but what does it all mean? The foundation is great at containing things, but they don't always have all the answers, right?
Right. And in some ways, I think that lack of answers just makes it even more terrifying. We're left with these chilling possibilities. Like, what is that feathery thing? What is it? Why is the buzzing, like the way it affects people? Is it some kind of psychic attack alongside a physical one? And where did SCP-3646 even come from in the first place?
It's almost Lovecraftian, isn't it?
Yeah.
This idea that there are things out there, our minds just aren't equipped to really understand things that could unravel our sanity with just a whisper.
And yet here we are, trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
We study the files, we analyze the data, we listen to these terrified accounts from the victims, because on some level we need to believe that there's a logic to the madness.
Even if finding that logic might drive us a little crazy ourselves.
Perhaps. But maybe that's the price of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the most disturbing thought is the one that lingers long after, well, the deep dive is over. What if we're not at the top of the food chain? What if we're just another link in a cycle we can barely even comprehend?
I think I need a drink. And maybe some bug spray.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. If you're not already thoroughly creeped out, let us know what you think is really going on with SCP-3646 down in the comments. And sweet dreams.